Hello, Cancer. This is your reading for the week of September 1st, or when you hear it and it resonates. And of course, it will not be for every Cancer. So, the first thing that I heard, and I heard it yesterday when I was thinking about working with you, and then something shifted. I heard it again today, and it's the song Straighten Up and Fly Right. Now, it's a song that's it was written back way long time ago. It was Nat King Cole, actually, who partially wrote it and sang it. Basically, the story is about a monkey taking a ride on the back of a buzzard, and the buzzard is trying to do all this stuff to get the monkey off, and the monkey is saying, hey, straighten up and fly right. And in it, it's like the buzzard's saying, no, it's all right. And the monkey's going, no, I can tell by the look in your eye. That's a lie. So it's basically, so I was looking at this and I was first going, oh, geez, Cancer, do you need to straighten up and fly right? And then I got, no. This is telling you, you're the monkey. You're the monkey that is able to lay down the rules and lay down the law. And you're going to know when things are a lie. You're going to know when things are not the way you want them to be or the way they should be. Because what I've been feeling, Cancer, is that as I was tuning into this energy, and as I was tuning into yours, we've talked a lot about Cancers being on the verge of loving in a new way and being in the world in a new way, having different values for themselves, a much greater sense of self-love and appreciation and self-worth, which is causing them to create new boundaries that are more in keeping with their well-being and what's right for them and what they want. And yet there's this feeling that's coming in that because there has very often been situations where, I won't say people have taken advantage exactly, but where your relationships, not just romantic, but some of your relationships, work and friends, have been perhaps with you more on the giving side than the receiving side. Let's just put it that way. And that you haven't always been really tuned into the fact that that's what was going on. Because you feel so much love, Cancers. You have such a giving heart and such a loving heart, and you feel so much so deeply, and you feel nuances so deeply, that you are in such a state of loving a lot of the time that you haven't in the past been able to stop and pull back and see what was coming back at you, right? Because you were in so much of a sense of loving that's what you were surrounded by, but it was your own love, not necessarily the love of the other person, or it was your own appreciation of them that you were feeling coming back, but not from them. Does that make sense to you? You were moving in the atmosphere of your own ability to love and not necessarily theirs. I think I will put it that way. Now, what I'm being told is, Cancer, have courage and trust yourself, because you've learned enough about what it feels like now. You've learned yourself. You've learned yourself. You've taught yourself how to step back and distinguish between what you're giving and what is being given. You've developed a sense now, you understand, what the red flags are, because you have been able to look honestly. Congratulations at that, my dears. You've been able to look honestly at what your role was in it. And you've been able now to be able to step back and say, yes, this was all a learning lesson. You've been able to forgive a lot. And you're probably still in the process of forgiving a lot. But it's from a different place now. What do they mean by that? It's from the place of understanding that whatever you thought was true about them in the moment or in the process of the relationship that you may have ended up judging them for, you're realizing now that there was a lot more going on than you necessarily realized. But part of the reason you didn't realize it was because you were not paying attention to the red flags because of what I was speaking about before in terms of you moving in the atmosphere of your own loving and the atmosphere of your own appreciation. There's also a quality of going along with things because it didn't matter a lot of times, right? It was just, well, sure, it's not really contradicting anything in me. It's not feeling bad. But then what you would notice sometimes in relationships is when you would speak your truth of what you needed, or when you would feel that a boundary was being crossed and you did speak it, that's when you'd realize, oh, wait a minute, the character of this person is not what I thought. So there are, for some of you, I'm feeling really strongly, almost a fear of dreaming about another relationship, almost like you're afraid to bring one in because you're concerned that maybe you'll make the same mistakes. Air quotes, deserves air quotes, this one. That you feel that you're concerned that maybe you will not notice again, maybe you'll not pay attention, maybe you'll let things go. But I'm here to tell you, Cancer, for those of you who've done the work, for those of you who've really been able to look at what your role was in it, such a powerful thing to do, because as soon as you do that, that's where you get to see what were the red flags that I didn't pay attention to? What did I excuse away because I was trying to be nice? Where was I being compassionate at my own expense? Because being compassionate is a good thing. And how much was, these are things that are just coming now. It's like, how many times was it, if I was just more patient, if I was just a little bit more patient, maybe things will turn around, or I'm sure they want to, blah, blah, blah. It's, Cancers, we understand, I think, many of us who've been on the receiving end of gaslighting, how very skilled many of the people who do it are. So there are also those people that you've come into, because really compassionate, caring people are just like a moth to a flame of those people who are willing to gaslight and use that tenderness and compassion and that broad spectrum of acceptance. Well, now what you're saying, what they're saying is, no, you dream big. You dream big and you dream what you desire, but in the process of doing that, you remember that God is head over heels in love with you. And if that is the standard, I'm going to read you this card. What if you knew that God totally adored all of you, even the quirky things or the parts of you that you're unhappy with or critical of? Today, act as though it's true. Act as though each thought and deed delights God. How would it change your opinion of yourself and your own self-love? How would it change your perception and relationship of and to the divine? And I'm going to take that one step further. How would it change your relationship to the people in your life that were supposed to be loving you? Do you really honestly believe that divine love is going to look down on this and say, yeah, you should put up with that crap? No. And there's something else that popped into my head as I was getting ready to read that, and that was that sometimes, thank you, that sometimes you put up with things because you weren't sure you were worthy of more. And it wasn't even necessarily a conscious thing. It was just that without realizing it, you had a low standard. You had a low standard. Again, without realizing it. It wasn't, oh, I'm so horrible, I don't. But there can sometimes be, I think this is really wonderful, this one statement, what if God totally adored all of you, even the quirky things or the parts of you that you're unhappy with or critical of? Because sometimes that's true. Sometimes we will accept less because we feel less in a situation. If you're not physically fit, perhaps you will accept a partner who is less physically fit because you don't feel because then there will not be an imbalance, right? So it's not necessarily that you put yourself down for it, but you might look for something that it feels a little bit more comfortable because it's a little bit more balanced in that regard. Same thing with, it could be an imbalance in anything that you're looking to kind of regulate. So check out for that if that starts happening. And remember, no. You deserve wonderful, good love. You deserve wonderful, respectful relationships on every level. And when you hold that you are loved, what does that do? Divine love, that you are divinely loved as you are. Not when you lose 20 pounds or when you finish a PhD or when you get the best job or when you buy your own property. You are lovable as you are, period. You deserve love as you are. And take that with you. Take that with you. And if anybody starts feeling like they're trying to take you off course, you tell them to straighten up and fly right. And maybe you just let them fly on. And trust that you can. Trust that you'll be able to. Stay aware and hold that divine love in your heart and let that be the standard. Let that be your standard for loving yourself. Let that be the standard for the kind of love and respect you take from everybody else. Okay, Cancers? And dream big within that quality of thinking. Okay? Take care.